What is the most surprising secret someone has revealed to you? A friend in college revealed that she was the product of incest between her mother and grandfather. From what I remember of the story, she was told by her mother that it was consensual but they are no longer together, although her grandfather is still around and a part of the family. My best friend and his wife had been trying unsuccessfully for years to conceive a second child. Then one day his wife told us she had secretly been taking birth control the whole time, that their first child was more work than she thought it would be and she didn't want a second. WTF. A girl once told me about how a man who was stalking her drove over a boy she was dating and this ended his life. My first quarter of teaching, I taught freshman English. So it was a rookie teacher, M. 26, and a room full of kids 3 months out of high school. I was amazed by how many female students would blurt out their molestation, rape, abuse histories during my office hours. We'd be talking about their essay about Thanksgiving dinner or whatever and then wham, a complete breakdown. I was in completely over my head and referred them to the University Women's Center for Counseling. It got so bad that the center called and asked basically WTF is going on in your class. As for me, I found it emotionally draining. It's happened a couple times since, here and there, but nothing like that first quarter. I had a friend in high school that told me he sucked a dog's D to see if he was gay. That was pretty surprising. Really rich guy, genius by all accounts, academic, well decorated, business guru, etc. And honestly, a really great guy. So he sort of mentored me, and he liked to tell stories. One day he gets drunk and basically tells me, yeah, all my businesses lose money. I'm not sure anything I've done is really very valuable at all. I got lucky and invested in the right dog food company and made around $100 million and that's basically how I am where I am. It was unreal, but I'm very happy for the guy. A friend of mine has a micro D. Fully erect it is about 1 inch. Flaccid it is, like, inside him. A friend of my parents randomly told me he was my father. I was 17 when he did and we were in the car driving to pick up some cakes for a dinner party organized by my parents. My sister told me she dated a coke dealer who made $30k a month. She broke it off with him after realizing how much trouble she could end up in by being associated with him. At least she realized it. I'm honestly surprised she didn't get blindsided by all the he could buy her. My wife of 20 years just revealed to me she has HIV. Was diagnosed 3 years after we married. The pastor of a very large downtown church revealed to me, in strict confidence, the name of the anonymous organ donor who contributed several $1 million for a new pipe organ. To my surprise, the organ donor was a man who groused endlessly about how loud the old organ was during services. Yet he gave a new instrument that was nearly triple the size of the previous one, and seemed to love it when the musician played with all the stops out. My friend telling me she used to be an escort. I have an acquaintance that revealed, while drunk, that him and his brother used to give each other blowjobs. His brother killed someone execution style at a party 2 weeks after he told me that. As I was leaving grad school, my prof and academic advisor introduced me to his mistress. I couldn't stand the asshole. So yeah, I was pretty surprised he entrusted me with that information. A professional in a high-ranking position once told me he ate dog biscuits as treats when he was a kid. They aren't that bad, except the green ones. The green ones were gross. My conservative Christian mother told me she was currently growing marijuana behind the pond. She'd been working on it for years. A fellow I'm living with has killed someone. Worked with a girl when I was 16. She was 17. We're talking about a date she had with a co-worker the night before and out of nowhere she throws in the fact that she's had 3 abortions. That my supposedly morally superior GF was in fact cheating on me. Throwaway time. A credentialed actuary once told me they never graduated from college and lied about it on their job application. She dated her brother for a while. Not one, but 2 guys from middle school that I was never even very close with have messaged me on FB after years without seeing each other and discussed their interest in changing genders. I was only mildly surprised by their secret. It's not really a big deal to me, but I was hella surprised that they trusted me to share that information with when the majority of their close friends and family didn't know. It's an honor to be trusted, but at the same time, WTF, I could be an asshole and tell everyone. My old boss was having problems with his nutjob wife again. He was going on and on about needing to get divorced, and my one friend who was there told him he should, since it would be better for him and their 2 sons not to be in this mess anymore. He looked us straight in the eye and said that if he did get divorced he probably would not have much to do with his boys after that. We just both looked at him in shock, waiting to see if he was joking or not, but he wasn't. Found out later he had pretty much done the same thing when he divorced his first wife. He raised her sons for 10 or 12 years as their stepdad, and as soon as they split he told them not to ever come around his place again, even though they had always had a good relationship before that. That really showed us what kind of asshole the guy was. The stress of living with his nutjob wife ended up killing him at 50-year-old, by the way. I am part of a university committee that arranges campus events for charity. Earlier this year we hosted a music festival that was quite successful. We all celebrated afterwards and got all the leftover booze. Students write SMH. Anyway, one of the guys on the committee, who I considered my friend, told me that he is part of a secret organization, a well-known racist organization that believes in social justice. They're pretty ducked up. They claim to protect people living on farms, but really most of them just beat up black people. South Africa. I didn't believe him, but he proved me wrong. He led me to his car where he showed me his uniform. They have ranks, and it was unmistakably genuine. I was surprised, totally disgusted, and no longer wished to be friends with this guy. A few years ago a friend of mine confessed to me that she had walked in on her husband with another man. I knew he was bisexual, and that their marriage hadn't always been the best, so this wasn't a surprise. After a few months she started pulling away from everyone, specifically our gay friend Adam, who seemed to hold no sympathy for her situation. He always played the "I told you so" card and kept telling her to stop trying to fight for her marriage. She and her husband had 3 children and had been married for over 10 years. They finally overcame it and are happy again. A few months ago I asked her if she felt cutting us all off had any effect on mending her marriage. She said, "Well, cutting off Adam helped. Maybe he had told me so, but it's not really fair when he's the one with his mouth on my husband's D when I walk in the door." I was at my wife's family's house playing cards one Thanksgiving after dinner. My mother-in-law and the rest of the older folks took cards pretty serious, and during one hand things got really ducking heated and an argument between my mother-in-law and her sister broke out. My wife's aunt accidentally blurted out a family secret in front of everyone that left all of us shocked. Kind of. Turns out my wife's oldest sister was not the biological daughter of my wife's dad, who had died when they were teenagers, and in fact her mom had gotten pregnant before they even met. My sister-in-law's biological dad had never known either, and they didn't meet until after this was disclosed. I say we were all kind of surprised because that sister is sort of the black sheep of the family and something never really jived. She also doesn't look like the other 3 daughters who are all biological. I see the guy at family gatherings now and I still don't know what his name is. I just refer to him as Family Crasher because he only shows up once a year or so and it feels like he's just crashing our family parties, lol. Edit. TL. Doctor, the family found out my sister-in-law's bio daddy was not my father-in-law over a heated card game. Today, the ducking love of my life told me that she liked me. We're going on a date this Saturday. I worked in a jail as a correctional officer for a year. One inmate who was absolutely loony told me he was secretly Jesus. I was pretty honored to have, secretly, met Christ. But then again he also told me he was real deal Super Saiyan, just like those guys on Dragon Ball Z. Either way, I met someone cool. That she had 4 abortions between junior and senior year. She told us when she learned she was pregnant again and considering a 5th abortion. One of my very religious friends had an abortion. That's one secret I'll be taking to the grave. Her family would disown her if they ever found out. Very drunk guy once told me he'd been paid to blow up a meth lab, presumably with people inside. He had the right kind of military and personal background to make that claim absolutely believable. And I have no doubt he did it. I don't, however, know why he told me. I don't think he remembered telling me afterwards, and I wasn't about to bring it back up. I was on a soccer field as a defender. Because their team was small, they got some girls on their team to make up the numbers they needed. Technically because it was meant they weren't supposed to be there, but nobody would ever report it, and this girl who I am marking has been sitting up our end of the field for a while, because we were dominating their team. So I got to talking, as I do when I'm marking someone for like 5-10 minutes of no action down our end, and she just says yes. I am the girl who put dog food in her pussy and got her dog to eat it out. You don't have to ask, and I'm not talking about it. I was stunned. I hadn't heard about this, but apparently it was known by a fair few people. Really caught me off guard. A couple of weeks ago my friend drunkenly told me she's been in love with me for the past 3 years. She'd always joked about us getting married, but I genuinely thought it was just jokes as we have both been in relationships for the past year or so. So yeah, that was pretty surprising. Nice try. Undisclosed government agency. I've told this one on here before, so I'll just copy paste it in here. For some reason I seem to be one of those people that folks just open up to. I've been told secrets by people I'd only known for a few hours that they hadn't told anyone else. For example, a girl that worked with for a few hours came out to me when the only other person at our job who knew she was a lesbian was her girlfriend that worked in another department. But the worst thing anyone's ever told me was a girl I worked with at another job. She told me that when she was in high school she met this guy from the next town over and they really hit it off. They started dating and it was just absolutely perfect. They had everything in common and just seemed so perfectly made for each other. After a few months, they decided to lose their virginity to each other. Now for the backstory. Her parents weren't married, never had been, but they were friends and her dad would come stay with them whenever he was in the area. He traveled for work. Never got the full story. So anyway, her dad's in town and she brings her boyfriend over to meet him. They start getting to know each other and talking about his family and stuff, and suddenly her dad's demeanor changes. He starts asking more questions about the kid's mom and how old he is and so forth. Later, the kid has to go home, and when the girl comes back her dad tells her that she has to break up with him and never see him again. She's of course heartbroken and asks why. Turns out the kid is her half-brother. She'd fallen in love and lost her virginity to her half-brother. Had a friend tell me that his now ex-wife and their friend gave him a tandem blow job. That was surprising. Would never have expected that from him. I had been dating a guy for about 7 months when he confessed that he habitually blew his brother throughout high school. Both grandfathers were SS officers. A girl in high school once told me she had a sexual relationship with her twin sister. My friend Miley turned out to be Hannah Montana. Friend told me that her dad fingered her one time, likes to wrestle with her, and asks for pictures of her ass when she needs money. My friend had been seeing a married man. Equals. A girl I wanted to date told me she had a son, raised him to 5 then gave him for adoption. We still dated afterwards. At a previous job, I found a wallet in the office. I opened it up and noticed one of the pictures had my manager in it, and returned it to him. Upon greeting him, I said he had a nice family. He kinda laughed smugly and said, which one? The one here in town or the one 200 miles from here? I realized that the pictures of different women and kids weren't just relatives, rather his 2 families. The student body president, valedictorian, and all around most popular guy in school confided in me at a graduation party as I took care of his nearly alcohol poisoned ass. He mentioned how his life is broken down, and how he's addicted to various things and that he's ruined all his scholarship plans and is enlisting in the military. I was just like, okay, don't puke on me. When my dad revealed he really worked for the CIA, I didn't believe him. He didn't look anything like 007 and had lots of nondescript, middle-aged friends. He drove me right into CIA headquarters. Then I believed him.